Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Universal You. Today, I thought it necessary to do a brief discussion on the topic of ritual magic or ceremonial magic. Over the course of this series, I've established that the archetypal deities that are adopted by most cultures today are very, very real, as well as having a sort of anthropomorphic identity as the result of mythologies and legends and stories over the eons. But yes, the Nakal, the immortals from Lemuria, did in fact preside over certain aspects of reality. And it is for that reason that I'd just like to give a brief word on ritual magic. All right, in metaphysics, it is clearly understood that all minds and situations are fields of energy. Thoughts have mass and frequency. Now, this plays a very big part in terms of mindfulness, where you consciously maintain a positive mental attitude and attract to yourself positive circumstances. But ritual magic takes this idea a step further. Ritual magic uses archetypal correspondences in the forms of ceremony and sigils and what have you to use the energy of a collective consciousness thought form in reality. Now, this is very interesting if you're trying to bring about a desired effect in reality, which some might term magic. Here's a decent example. Let's take the Greek god Apollo, for instance. Now, in Greek culture, this deity presides over music and art and poetry. Now, say a musician wanted to enhance their musical talent and they are aware of a certain ritual to Apollo. They would perform this ritual, and if it's done successfully, they'd find that their music capabilities are greatly enhanced. Now, this is just a little example. There are many other archetypal deities, and the purposes and effects of each vary. Just remember that it's wisest to act in love and do things in a positive manner for your own self-improvement and the self-improvement of those around you. And that's all I'm going to say on that. All right. The idea of ritual magic brings into play collective consciousness thought forms, and as I discussed in the Selfhood series, the archetypal realm or collective consciousness denotes a personal selfhood. From a metaphysical point of view, these beings are aspects of your own consciousness, and you're likely to resonate with certain archetypal deities more than others. In that regard, the idea of your personal spirit guides comes into play, and the notion of guardian angels and even spirit animals. And I'm gonna do a meditation for finding your own personal spirit guide in the video after this. You might enjoy. There are multiple cultural aspects to ritual magic, and I've really done a lot of research. In the previous video, I mentioned how the Nakal rested on nodal points of the higher consciousness grid around the planet, and as such enacted. Now what this means is that every culture around their world has their own version of ceremonial or ritual magic, and it's in this regard that I'd say, you know, do what works for you. Whatever speaks to you and resonates with you, do that. Do what you're comfortable with. If you want to do anything at all, this could just be an interesting point of discussion for you. In this regard, I must emphasize the importance of real experience. Have your own real experience. I'm sure there are many of you out there who have very interesting stories to tell of your own personal experiences. This is the best way to validate what I'm telling you here and to validate things for yourself. I mean, I could tell you a huge number of things, and based on your own personal experience, you would perceive what I'm telling you very differently. Yes, the idea of ritual magic has many different cultural aspects, and I'll give you a few books if you're interested in practicing yourself. At this point, I'd like to talk a bit about yoga. The definition for yoga is union with absolute consciousness. That's the primary goal of yoga, to experience cosmic consciousness within you, which denotes a universal selfhood. Now, people have found on their journey, on their spiritual path, during yogic practices, that siddhis are unlocked, and these are put rather plainly, these are psychic powers, the ability to see with your third eye and become aware of people's hidden motivations and sense people's energy and telepathically communicate. And there are other studies. Right now I'm doing a bit of research into Prapti Sati and Manajarva Sati. But it's important to understand that these abilities unlock themselves in the process of attempting to experience and synthesize with eternity. All right. Just a brief overview. Let's see, sigils, a common feature in ritual magic is sigils, and what these are just illustrations of archetypal thought forms, if that makes sense. A sigil is a written descriptive form of an archetypal thought form, and as such it does tend to attract the energy that you're wanting to achieve your desire. A little bit of an overview on evocation and invocation. To invoke something is to bring in the energy of something, a deity, what have you, and to evoke is to dispel it. That's just really basic neophyte stuff. But anyway, at this point, I'd like to recommend a few books that might assist you in having your own unique experience. And yeah, I've read most, if not all, of these, and I'll put links to where you can download them in the description below. You know. Alright, so check out Astral World by Swami Punkadasi. I hope I said that right. Really good book. Just talks about the experiences one might have in the astral dimension if you've never astral projected or you're thinking about doing that. Check out the Complete Magic Primer by David Conway. This is the book that got me into ritual magic in the first place. It came to me, literally came to me. I found it, or it found me rather synchronistically, and it's a really good book. It covers astral projection. It has a lot of Kabbalistic rituals into it. If you're interested in Kabbalistic ritual magic, it has a really amped description on the various sephiroths, as well as a very good Egyptian solar ritual as well. And it also has many archetypal correspondences in huge amounts, like what flower or metal corresponds with what deity, and it also gives you a very good overview on astrological circumstance, when to perform a ritual and why you should perform that ritual in that time, which is very helpful if you're into that sort of thing. Check out Dream Gates by Robert Moss. Again, very helpful if you're interested in journeying or astral projection or finding your spirit guide or remembering why you came here. This is really good for soul remembrance. For those of you who find yourself reincarnated, I suggest that you check out the original account of the teachings, rites, and ceremonies of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn by Llewellyn. I've recently acquired this book and I find it quite helpful. Golden Dawn magic seems to adopt various forms of magic from around the world, if they work. Anyway, I found this pretty interesting. I don't know if you will, but if you want, check out the Psychonaut Field Manual by Archetypal Blue Fluke. This was really good, especially if you're trying to conceptualize the idea of anthropomorphic expressions. It put a lot of things into perspective to me. This also describes sigils as being thought forms in themselves that thrive on your attention, which is very, very interesting. And then for those of you into quantum physics, check out Fred Ellen Wolf's The Yoga of Time Travel. I will put all the links in, and this is just a little bit of reading for you. There are, if you're interested in a decent audiobook, I'd look up the Kybelon on YouTube. It's there. It's a good audiobook if, reading is not your speed. Anyway, yeah, a brief overview on ritual magic and why it's significant. Ritual magic uses the thought form energy of archetypal beings and deities, which, as I have established, are very, very real. Yeah. Oh, and they're aspects of your own consciousness. So, yeah, you might find that once you find a guide or whatever, that you experience personal transformation. For me personally, and I haven't really shared this with anyone, For me personally, I've got Archangel Metatron as a personal guide, and you know, subsequent aspects of my own consciousness, and I find that this really assists me in terms of writing and communication and awareness of self. Funny thing about Metatron, he was human. If you're into Enochian magic, then you should know that Enoch became Metatron. This is one of the clear instances in which a human being ascended to immortality within their personal lifetime. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll do a spirit guide finding meditation in the next video, and then we will continue with the whole history of the world thing. Love yourselves.